Hi again. Here we'll continue with our project to create a simple app that uses an API from the internet to grab some data and display it in React Native. I've set up my project and I've got the default project running in the simulator, and then I've got my project that's actually my other project, and then I'll open up this project. Actually, let me go find it here. I'll open this one up in Atom as soon as the spinning thing goes away. There we go. So I'll grab this, I'll open it in Atom, and there we go. So our first step here is to just set up like a basic component to render our app. So I'll go to index iOS, and this is the default code that we have here. And that's what we see in this app. So I'm going to delete all this, right? Everything that's inside the return statement here. And then I'll just shorten this to one line, and I'll make a component called app, and we'll render that component here. Now, we haven't created that yet, but we will in the next step. So I'll type import app from, and I'm going to make a folder here called components. So we haven't done that yet. And if you feel like you want to use a different arrangement, you can do that too. But I'm going to use this. And then I won't need all this style sheet stuff, but I do need the app registry register component at the bottom. Okay, so I'll have to make sure I keep this down here, but I can get rid of the style sheet. And I'm no longer using view and style sheet and text, so I can get rid of those and shorten this first part to just be app registry. There we go. So that cleans up the index iOS. And we can do the same on the Android iOS. I would just make it look exactly like this. Okay, now let's make a new folder over here called components. Right? And this app component, or this file is expecting to find a file called app.js in the components folder. So let's create that. So I'll make a new file in components. I'll call it app.js, and then we'll type in the boilerplate kind of code here. So it'll just be React from React, and then we'll import, what else do we need here? I don't think we need much else. Maybe we'll just make this like a simple component. We'll say const app equals a function that returns some, JSX thing, right? And then we'll export it as default, right? And maybe we'll put, maybe we'll do this. We'll put we'll make a text object. Maybe we'll have to import text just so we can see something at the beginning. So we'll do this. We'll say import text from React Native. I think I'm going to change this later, but just for now. Oh wait, I misspelled default. Right? And there we go, right? And then for the text here, we'll just say hello, or we'll say, weather API, right? So that'll be our string there, and we should just end up seeing that kind of in the upper corner here. So let's render this app. So this should be rendered here, down here. And if I did everything right, we'll refresh it and see what it looks like. Oh, it looks pretty good. So I see weather API at the top there. It's a little hard maybe for you to see on the screen. Hopefully you should see this on your own screen, right? And now we're good to go. So let's do a little something to get started. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the Dark Sky API. And that API in the docs here, they for a forecast request, you provide their API with your key, So this is our request right here. We're going to provide them with our key, followed by the latitude and the longitude. So that means before we can get the weather, we need to get our location. Okay? So we'll need to get the location from our app and provide that, right? Oops, I don't want to save that. So how do we get the latitude and longitude? Well, let's look up JavaScript geolocation. Okay? Oops, geolocation, right? And I'm going to go get the geolocation from the Mozilla Developer Network, right? So I'll go here, and it says using geolocation. And you can see it says geolocation object is, you access the API through navigator.geolocation. Okay? And I guess you can check to see if geolocation is available this way. And then you can do navigator geolocation get current position. Let's zoom in on that a little bit, right? And then this is a function that, it's a callback. So when the computer figures out the position, it calls you back with this first function here. And it, provides the position as a parameter to that function, right? And so from here, we can do something with those coordinates, right? There's a little more to this. It doesn't show it here. Handling errors, right? So where does that show? It doesn't show it here. Yeah, I guess it is here, right? No. But actually, it doesn't, I'm trying to find it on here, but the geolocation should, actually I guess here kind of shows it, right? So navigator.currentLocation get current position. The first parameter is the success, right? So that's a callback that on a success it provides position. The second parameter is a function that takes in an error message as a parameter. And if there's an error getting the position, we get this callback is called. And then actually there's a third parameter here that provides options to tell geolocation how to get your current position. Okay? I'm trying to find one with all those options in it here. Doesn't really show all those. Anyway, we'll just do it and we'll see how it works, right? So it kind of shows us here what systems it works on. Seems like it works pretty good. Maybe not quite on the older version of Opera there. Anyway, so let's get started, right? So we've got our app here, and our app is rendering. Let's make a component that represents the weather, right? So we'll make a weather component, and we'll put it in here, and then our app will render the weather. And that's kind of good for us, because if we have other stuff, like meta stuff for the app, it can go outside this, right? So we'll make one more component here for now, and I'll call this like weather.js, okay? And so I'm in my components folder. I'll import React from React, and I'm going to make this a stateful component, so I'll include component here. And this may need to have some React Native components, so I'll get the text, view, and style sheet from React Native. And then we'll start with a class. We'll call it weather. It'll extend component, and it needs to implement the method render. And render must return some JSX. So why don't we put a view in here, and inside the view we'll put some text that will say weather, okay? And then we'll need to set this up a little more, because we'll have to export this component as the default. Export, and then we probably need a style sheet. So we'll say styles equal stylesheet dot create. And there we go, right? So let's put some default styles on here. Maybe we need a style for our container, and we'll give it a flex of 1. Okay? And why don't we give this justify content center and align items center. Okay? And then we'll apply this style to the view. So I'll go up here to view, and we'll say style equals styles with an S container. Okay, so now we've got our like a kind of a component set up to handle displaying our weather, and let's render that component in app.js. So I'll go back to app.js here. I'll choose import weather from, and since it's in the same folder here, it'll be, we can just say / and the name. And now we'll render the weather here in place of this weather text, right? So we'll just say weather like that. Okay? So we'll save this and we'll refresh, and there's weather, right? And since we used, since we gave the container, you know, a flex of 1, it expands to fill the area, and we gave it justify content center, so it's content, you know, by default the flex direction is column, so justify content center puts us in the middle of the column, and align items is the cross axis, so it moves the text field into the middle horizontally, right? Because the main axis is on the center, and then the cross axis is on the center. Okay, so now we're in a pretty good place to continue, right? So in the next video, what we'll do is we'll get the we'll do all our work here in weather, and we'll tell the weather component to go and grab the geolocation of the current device, and you know, we'll just print the coordinates maybe here inside the text there, right? Just as a start to see just to see it working, right? And then once we get the weather, the coordinates there, then we can go and send that out on the internet and ask Dark Sky for the weather data for that coordinate. Okay, so anyway, thanks for watching, and then we'll continue in the next video.